Hello! So, today we're going to be continuing on with our kitchen splashback. We've got, it's like a subway tile, but they've got lots of curvy inny outy bits. Couldn't tell the actual name of them, but very popular at the moment. Actually gone with a midnight grout, which is a black grout here. So in a previous video, you would have seen cleaning it off, give it a lot more cleaning than your regular grout and tiles. Go over it probably 4 or 5 times, maybe even 6 times. Then I also came back about an hour later when it had started to set a little bit more, and then I gave it one more quick clean off with a clean bucket and clean sponge. And this is the result from that. I haven't touched it since. So I still will give this what we call a dust off with a clean microfiber cloth and a little bit of a scrape out. Over here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I've already put down one side of tape, getting ready to do our caulking or our silicone work. These bench tops are a timber bench top, and they're still a raw edge, still a raw surface. They need another couple of coats of oil. So in order to protect them, when I was grouting, I just had some leftover tile boxes. As you can see, I just basically sat them up on the bench and taped them in. But you can see there's a lot of grout that if I didn't put these down would have made a big mess on the unfinished bench tops, which would have been a lot of drama for someone else later. So I'm going to use these again today because when I install caulking, I use some soapy water, and in case any caulk or anything falls on it as well. Even the dust, even when I dust this, I want to have these bench tops protected because if even the black dust gets in here, it could get into the grains. So we want to prevent any of that when we can. All right, so as you can see, I've already taped in one line here. If you look from this angle here, I've gone with an even, it's probably 2 or 3 millimeters or an 1/8 inch from the edge of the tile. Just, again, because we've got this raw surface, I don't actually normally use tape when I'm caulking, but to ensure it doesn't get into this bench top, I'm happy to use it in this situation. Want to make sure it's a nice, clean, straight line. But up this wall where it's a painted surface, I won't use any tape because I can just caulk against that, no worries. Again, all of these lines here, anywhere on the external edges, or they call it a architectural break point. So here, up the sides of the cabinet, up the top, and all the way around again, over to this side. All of these points here, we put silicone or caulk for you Americans. I'll put some tape in here just to show you. You can also see in here, there's a little bit of grout that's gotten in against the bench top. That's okay, because it's going to be back behind our silicone line or our caulk line. If the grout had come out further, then I would need to scrape that out, which we'll do when we go to the bathroom. We'll do some scraping out of some excess grout. So I've got a nice thick, it's a painter's tape. It's really sticky, but it also doesn't have any of those glues in it like a masking tape that can damage or pull out the timber. In saying that, I would never leave any sort of tape on an unfinished surface like this for more than, I don't know, the shortest time that I have to, just because tapes can pull out, if it's an unfinished surface, can pull out any oils or anything like that, and even pull out some of the grains in the timber. So basically, I'll get my tape, get it nice and taut, holding 2 edges, the 2 ends that I want, in at approximately 2 to 3 millimeters or an 1/8 inch from the wall. I'll set that end, hold my tape nice and flat, get a line, see in the middle here. Oh dear, try that again. So I'm going to set the far end first. I've set approximately 2 millimeters or an 1/8 inch from the edge of the tile. I'm going to mark it in the center as well at about the same distance, and then going along the tile. These tiles aren't a perfectly straight tile, so I'm going to try and make it work exactly for the tiles like that, giving me a beautiful, nice, clean looking caulk line. The same tile boxes, leftover tile boxes, you could use anything for this, any sort of cardboard or plastic or even a newspaper or something would be fine for this. It's not for impact damage, it's just simply to protect it from the grout. Again, because it's such a dark grout, because it's actually black grout, whatever it is, the oxide or the dark stain in the grout, it just marks up anything, especially if it's a timber product. It just gets in the grain and you can't get it out. So I always try and protect it as best as I can. So I'm going to just use these ones that I had set up the other day. Simply just re-put them against my taped edge like that. That's all we need really. It's just, again, to protect it from when I dust this area down. And if there's a couple of little pieces up here, if you take a close look, there's some grout in here that we're going to need to scratch out a little bit, which we just use a utility knife for, just in these sections down here. I'll scrape that out to ensure that we have a good caulk joint between the tile and the overhead cabinets. So the knife, it's just a regular utility box knife. This blade, I've done a lot of scraping out already. It's actually not a bad thing to have not too pointy of an edge in case you do slip. So yeah, I run a not as sharp blade if I'm using it against things like cabinetry and that. So it's very simple, making sure that I'm not pointing towards the cabinetry side, but pointing towards the tiles, making sure the box cutter, the body of the box cutter is not hitting on my tiles either, because you can also scratch the tiles. So keeping it at a nice angle, basically just coming in like this, you can see that excess grout just falls away, very simply. Again, all we're doing this for, it can get covered over with the caulk, but it's removing it to, we're putting caulk in the joint rather than having the grout in the joint, which is what we're after. So I'll scrape that out like that. And I'll get my microfiber cloth. Simply come in here. You see how easily that cleans off. Once you scrape the main body of the grout off, it cleans off super easy. Give it another run. Clean bit of. You got a beautiful line ready for caulking. As you can see, where we've scraped out, if we didn't have the box and everything covering, all this black grout would be into our bench top. So I've just got a near new microfiber. I've used it a couple of times. This has obviously just been used on the dark grout up here that I've removed, scraped out the corners, nice clean lines. But as you can see, there's still a lot of grout left on the tiles after that. Now it's all gone. So I just get another nice little clean bit of the tile, and I'm wiping off one final clean of the face edge of all the tiles. I've noticed a lot of people don't come back and do the extra dust or the extra clean. It just means that later on, there's not another job for someone else to do. I like to leave things nice and clean and neat, and yeah, as a finished product. So, as we said earlier, because we went over this probably at least 6 times when we were wiping it off, and then came back later to do one more wipe off with the water. We came back and did one more wipe off with this sponge with the new clean water. Now with the slightly damp microfiber, one wipe over this and she'll be ready to go. I've already done the top section, I've already done down these edges. So now it's just coming over the entire face, coming down. Try to keep the microfiber out of the grout lines, because when you go into the grout lines, if you rub any out, it's just going to dirty up the microfiber very quickly. Coming down, didn't pull much off, moved to a fresh bit of my microfiber. Coming off very, very easily for what's left on there. Looking very nice. Once I've gone through and done this, I'll give it approximately probably 20 minutes to make sure that there's no moisture left on the tiles or the cabinets whatsoever. Not sure if you can see it, but I've given the cabinets a really good clean off as well, so that's a job someone else doesn't have to do later. But also by getting that residual grout dust off those tiles means when I'm caulking, I'm just caulking straight to my cabinet into my tiles. It's gonna adhere as it's meant to. Still learning English. Can't even say the word English.